YandR spoilers week of December 22nd. Matt's Newman revenge, Victor's sacrifice, Michael's tough choice. The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates for the week of December 22nd indicate Matt Clark, aka Mitch Bacall, Roger Howarth, will plot dastardly Newman revenge. Meanwhile, Victor Newman, Eric Braden, considers making a significant sacrifice, and Michael Baldwin, Christian LeBlanc, will face a difficult decision, leading to a whirlwind of events in Genoa City. Michael evaluates his choices. He must make a difficult, if not impossible one. To begin with, Michael will evaluate his choices after Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, implores him for help. It appears that Diane will urge Michael to betray Victor and support the Abbotts instead. But will Michael's allegiance to Victor prevail? Following that, Matt will engage in some underhanded tactics alongside the corrupt detective Annie Stewart, Catherine Kresge, who will scheme to ambush Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun, on Matt's instructions. While Annie focuses on targeting Sienna, it will allow Matt to shift his attention to the Newmans. Victor, Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, and Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, will undoubtedly find themselves entangled in this chaos, but they won't be the only ones involved. Nikki, Claire, and others could be caught in the crosshairs of Matt's revenge. Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, and others connected to the Newman family might also find themselves in the crosshairs. No one associated with the Newman clan will be safe, as Matt is determined to target this family aggressively. However, his quest for leverage will be paused during the Christmas Eve celebrations. December 24th will feature a special episode focused on unity and the joy of the holiday season. Victor and Nikki will receive a touching reminder, leading them to navigate the tension surrounding his confrontation with Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and Jabot. Victor's significant sacrifice for Nikki, classic Christmas episode. Could Victor be willing to make a significant sacrifice for Nikki by stepping back from Jack? Nikki is uncertain if she can forgive Victor if he brings down Jabot, which means there's a possibility that Victor might surprise his wife with an unexpected Christmas gift this year. Meanwhile, Jack and Diane will enjoy their own romantic holiday gathering. A peaceful evening at home will be just what Diane and Jack need this Christmas Eve. As Christmas Day unfolds, YandR will present a nostalgic episode from 2010. This will introduce some holiday spirits for Victor to face, as the show replays a Christmas classic on December 25th. Be sure to catch up on everything happening with YandR right now. Come back here often for the Young and the Restless spoilers, news, and updates. Genoa City is about to erupt, and at the center of the storm is the Newman family, once again fighting a war on multiple fronts. As the Young and the Restless heats up, three explosive storylines collide. Matt's long-simmering revenge against the Newmans finally goes live. Victor Newman prepares to make a shocking personal sacrifice, and Michael Baldwin faces a decision that could destroy everything he's spent his life protecting. These aren't just plot twists, they're emotional landmines, and no one will walk away unscathed. Matt's revenge plan finally revealed. For weeks, Matt has hovered at the edges of Newman drama, quiet, calculating, and seemingly underestimated. But make no mistake, Matt hasn't forgotten what the Newmans took from him. And now he's done waiting. Insiders tease that Matt's revenge is not loud or impulsive, it's surgical. He's targeting the one thing Victor Newman values above all else: control. Matt's plan is designed to expose cracks in the Newman empire, starting with the family's business dealings and bleeding straight into their personal lives. The most dangerous part? Matt knows where the bodies are buried. He's already planted seeds of doubt among Newman allies, leaking just enough information to make longtime partners nervous. Contracts begin unraveling. Trust erodes. And as Victor scrambles to contain the damage, it becomes clear, this isn't a random attack. This is deeply personal. What makes Matt even more dangerous is that he's willing to burn himself down if it means taking the Newmans with him. He's not looking for money. He's not looking for power. He wants justice, or revenge masquerading as it. Victor Newman's unthinkable sacrifice. Victor Newman has survived enemies, betrayals, prison cells, and even his own family turning against him. But this time the threat is different. It's not just about business. It's about blood. As Matt's plan inches closer to destroying the Newman name, Victor realizes there may be only one way to stop him, and it will cost Victor more than he's ever paid before. Spoilers hint that Victor is prepared to sacrifice his own position, his reputation, or even his freedom to protect his family. The shock doesn't come from the act itself. Victor has always been ruthless, but from who he's doing it for. This sacrifice isn't about ego. It's about legacy. Victor knows the truth. If Matt's secrets come out, they won't just damage Newman Enterprises, they'll destroy his children. Nikki's fragile stability could shatter. Victoria's leadership would be questioned. Adam, already walking a thin line, could be pushed into permanent exile. So Victor does what only he can do. He steps forward and takes the blame. Whether it's a legal fall, a public confession, or a backroom deal that strips him of power, Victor is ready to become the villain again if it means saving his family. But the cost is steep, and there's no guarantee it will work. Because Matt isn't finished. Michael Baldwin's impossible choice. Caught directly in the crossfire is Michael Baldwin, and this may be the most devastating chapter of his story yet. As Victor's longtime attorney and fiercely loyal friend, Michael has always believed in protecting the Newmans. But this time, loyalty collides head-on with morality. Michael uncovers evidence tied to Matt's revenge, information that could either expose Victor completely or save him. And there's a third complication, Lauren. Lauren becomes the quiet conscience Michael can't ignore. She warns him that if he crosses certain lines again, there may be no coming back. Not legally, not morally, and not for their marriage. Michael is forced to face a brutal truth. He's spent his life cleaning up Victor's messes, and every time, it costs him a piece of himself. Now the choice is unbearable. Protect Victor, bury the truth, and risk losing Lauren and his own soul. Expose the truth, stop Matt's revenge in its tracks, and destroy the Newman family forever. There is no win here. Only damage control. What makes this decision even harder is that Michael knows Matt isn't lying. The pain fueling Matt's revenge is real. And by choosing Victor, Michael may be silencing someone who deserves justice. Fallout that will change Genoa City. As these storylines converge, Genoa City becomes a battlefield. Alliances fracture. Secrets surface. And the ripple effects extend far beyond the Newman ranch. Nikki senses Victor is hiding something, and history tells us she won't stay in the dark for long. Victoria grows suspicious as deals collapse around her. Adam, ever the wild card, may see this chaos as both a threat and an opportunity. And Matt, he watches it all unfold with grim satisfaction. Has spent his entire career standing at crossroads, but this one feels different. This one feels final. The dim light of his office casts long shadows across the law books lining the walls. Volumes filled with precedents, loopholes, and legal victories that once made him feel invincible. Tonight, those same books feel like silent judges, watching as Michael stares at the document trembling in his hand. A single signature could change everything. It could protect the people he loves, or destroy the man he has spent decades becoming. For the first time in a very long while, Michael Baldwin doesn't know what the right thing is. The problem isn't the law. Michael understands the law better than most. The problem is loyalty. And in Genoa City, loyalty has always been a dangerous currency. On one side of the scale sits Victor Newman. Victor has been Michael's greatest ally, his most powerful client, and at times his moral blind spot. Michael owes Victor everything. His redemption, his career resurrection, his seat at the table of power. When no one else would trust him, Victor did. When Michael's past threatened to bury him, Victor gave him purpose. And now Victor is asking for one last sacrifice. The evidence Michael has uncovered could blow the Newman empire wide open. It's airtight, meticulously documented, and devastating. If it becomes public, it won't just tarnish Victor's legacy. It will implicate Adam, destabilize Nikki's fragile sobriety, and send shockwaves through the entire Newman family. Lives would be ruined, futures erased. Victor insists this information must never see the light of day. "Do this for me," Victor said earlier, his voice low, controlled, but unmistakably urgent. You know what's at stake. Michael does know. That's the problem. On the other side of the scale is Lauren. Lauren Fenmore Baldwin has stood by Michael through prison sentences, scandals, and moral compromises that would have broken lesser marriages. She has defended him fiercely, even when she didn't like what he'd done. But lately, she's been watching him differently, with concern, with fear, with the quiet realization that Victor Newman might finally be asking too much. "You can't keep paying for Victor's sins," Lauren warned him. "One day, it's going to cost us everything." Her words echo now as Michael rubs his temples, exhaustion weighing heavily on his shoulders. He promised Lauren that he'd changed, that he wouldn't lose himself again in Victor's shadow, that their future would be built on honesty, not secrets and silence. And yet, here he is. The third option, the one Michael hasn't spoken aloud, is to tell the truth. To turn over the evidence. To let the chips fall where they may. To finally choose the law over loyalty. But truth has consequences in Genoa City. Michael knows that exposing Victor could make him a hero to some, but a traitor to many more. Victor doesn't forgive betrayal. He remembers it. He repays it. Michael has seen what happens to those who cross him. Careers destroyed, families fractured, reputations buried under carefully orchestrated chaos. And then there's Adam. Michael knows Adam is already walking a razor's edge, desperate for Victor's approval, terrified of losing what little stability he's gained. If this explodes, Adam will be collateral damage. So will Nikki, whose sobriety hangs by a thread thinner than anyone wants to admit. Is justice worth that cost? Michael leans back in his chair, staring at the ceiling as memories flood his mind. The man he used to be, the crimes he once justified, the lines he crossed because he thought power equaled protection. He didn't become a lawyer to be Victor Newman's cleanup crew forever. He became a lawyer to believe in something better. But belief doesn't shield you from fallout. His phone buzzes. Lauren's name lights up the screen. He doesn't answer it. Not yet. Because answering means choosing. If Michael signs the document and buries the evidence, he preserves the Newman empire and secures Victor's eternal loyalty. But he risks losing Lauren's trust, maybe forever. He risks becoming the man she's been afraid he still is. If he hands the evidence over, he honors the law and his conscience, but he may lose Victor's protection, his career, and possibly his safety. Victor Newman, backed into a corner, is not a man Michael wants as an enemy. And if he tries to play both sides, delay, manipulate by time, he risks everything collapsing at once. For the first time, Michael realizes there may be no clean way out. Only consequences. He picks up his pen, his hand hovering just above the paper. His reflection stares back at him from the polished desk surface, older, wearier, but still searching for redemption. This choice won't just define his career. It will define who Michael Baldwin truly is. Outside, Genoa City hums on, unaware that one signature could alter its balance of power forever. Michael exhales slowly. Whatever happens, he murmurs to himself, I have to be able to live with it. The pen touches the page. And in that moment, Michael Baldwin steps into the most dangerous chapter of his life. One where there are no winners, only softly over Genoa City, transforming the familiar streets into something almost magical. The town glowed with white lights and evergreen wreaths, as if Christmas itself had wrapped the city in a promise of peace. At the center of it all stood the Newman Ranch, illuminated like a beacon against the winter night. Inside, the warmth was unmistakable, not just from the crackling fire, but from the history that lived in every corner of the room. Nikki Newman stood near the fireplace, her fingers curled around a porcelain mug she hadn't touched. The tree shimmered behind her, decorated with ornaments collected over decades. Each one a memory, each one a reminder of a life lived fiercely and imperfectly. Victor watched her from across the room. He had faced hostile takeovers, prison cells, enemies who wanted him destroyed. But nothing unsettled him quite like the sight of Nikki standing there, fragile in a way she never allowed the world to see. You're miles away, Victor said quietly. Nikki smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Just thinking. Christmas does that. Victor stepped closer, his presence grounding, familiar. Thinking can be dangerous. Coming from you, that's rich, she replied softly. They shared a brief laugh, but the unspoken tension lingered. Victor knew what Nikki wasn't saying. The last year had been brutal. Health scares, family fractures, temptations that lurked when strength wore thin. Nikki had fought harder than anyone realized, and Victor had watched, helpless at times, furious at himself for not being able to fix everything. That was the thing about love. Even Victor Newman couldn't control it. The front door opened, letting in a gust of cold air and the voices of family, Victoria, Nick, Adam, each carrying gifts, laughter, and unresolved histories. The Newmans gathered, as they always did, drawn together by tradition as much as obligation. Dinner passed with familiar rhythms, sharp remarks, reluctant truces, flashes of genuine affection. But Victor's mind was elsewhere. His eyes kept returning to Nikki, noting the tightness in her shoulders, the way she excused herself early from dessert. He found her later in the living room, standing before the tree again. I didn't want to make a scene, Nikki said, sensing him behind her. It's Christmas. Victor folded his arms, his voice low. You never make scenes. You carry the weight quietly. That stops tonight. She turned to him, surprised by the intensity in his eyes. I know, she said gently. You're worried about me. You always are. No, Victor corrected. I'm done worrying. I'm acting. Nikki frowned. Victor. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder, thick and unmistakably official. She stared at it as if it might bite. What's that? Victor took a breath, something rare and deliberate. My resignation. Her eyes widened. From Newman Enterprises? You can't be serious. I already submitted it, he said. Effective immediately. The words hung in the air, heavy and unbelievable. Victor Newman didn't step aside. He conquered. He controlled. He never surrendered power. Why? Nikki whispered. Because I finally understood something, Victor said. I've spent my life protecting this family by building an empire. But empires can become prisons. And I won't let my ambition cost me the one thing that truly matters. Nikki shook her head, emotion flooding her face. You're giving up everything for me? I'm giving up control, Victor said. There's a difference. I don't need a throne if it means losing you. I've already lost too much time. Tears welled in Nikki's eyes. Victor, I never asked for this. I know, he said softly. That's why it's a sacrifice. Not a deal. She reached for him, her hands trembling. You think stepping back will fix everything? No, Victor admitted. But it gives us a chance. A real one. I'll be present. I'll listen. I'll fight for you instead of fighting the world. Nikki leaned into him, resting her forehead against his chest. For the first time in a long while, she felt something she hadn't dared hope for. Relief. The door creaked open, and Victoria paused when she saw them. One look at the folder in Victor's hand told her something monumental had shifted. Is everything okay? She asked cautiously. Victor met his daughter's gaze. Everything is changing. Later, as the family gathered around the tree, Victor cleared his throat. I have an announcement, he said, commanding attention as effortlessly as ever. Tonight, I stepped down from Newman Enterprises. Gasps rippled through the room. Nick stared. You did what? Victor didn't flinch. I made a choice. One I should have made a long time ago. He turned to Nikki, taking her hand. Christmas is about what we're willing to give up for love. Tonight I chose my wife. Silence followed. Then something unexpected. Adam smiled. Not a smirk. A real smile. Victoria exhaled, her eyes shining. Nick nodded slowly, understanding more than he said. Nikki squeezed Victor's hand, overwhelmed. This doesn't make you weaker, she said. It makes you braver than ever. Victor looked at the tree, the family, the woman beside him. For once, there was no hunger for more. This, he said quietly, is my legacy. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing Genoa City in stillness. Inside the Newman ranch, Christmas felt whole, imperfect, emotional, and real. And for the first time in a very long time, Victor Newman had sacrificed power for peace. And found exactly what he'd been fighting for all along. December 18th. Jack assigned blame, Billy's deal, Kyle's message. The young and the restless spoilers for December 18th indicate that Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, will hold Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, accountable for their actions. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, strikes a deal with Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford. Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, sends a message to Summer Newman, Allison Lanier. Make sure to check out our weekly YandR spoilers here. Jack Abbott assigned blame. Jack knows that his so-called friend Adam was behind the expose attacking Jabot from Newman Media. Jack also knows that Chelsea was working right beside him as well. Jack is not going to allow this to go unaddressed. Jack was there for Adam when Victor Newman, Eric Braden, refused to give him the time of day. Now Adam has attacked Jack on his daddy's orders. Chelsea has been treated like a part of the Abbott family as well, and Jack is not one bit happy with her. Billy Abbott even saved her life. Chelsea has a lot to be questioned about, and Jack will call them both out on their betrayal. This may make Jack feel a little bit better, but that doesn't mean these two will do anything different. Read this. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Nikki's drunk disaster, Matt ruins sobriety? Billy Abbott strikes a deal with Phyllis Summers. It has been suggested that Billy strike a deal with Phyllis to talk her into taking the AI program back from Victor. Phyllis made a deal with Victor, so she could have Jabot once he attacked them. Now Phyllis is dealing with Billy. Will Phyllis follow through with her part of the deal? Phyllis has not exactly been friendly with Billy lately. Phyllis stole the program to get control of Jabot, so why would she make a deal to help save it? Phyllis has something up her sleeve. What exactly is she up to? Will Phyllis actually help Billy like she promised, or will she double-cross Billy and make matters worse for Billy and for Jabot than they already are? Kyle Abbott sends a message to Summer Newman. Kyle knows that Victor probably never bothered to get in touch with Summer over his attack on Jabot. However, Summer's company is under Jabot's umbrella and goes down with the ship if Jabot collapses. Kyle needs to make sure that his son's mother is prepared in case they cannot save Jabot. Will Summer turn on her grandfather as well? Summer may have a hard time believing that her grandfather would be behind this. However, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, is fed up with Victor too. Will Kyle convince Summer that Victor is behind this? Will Summer's appeal to Victor bring him to his senses when it comes to her livelihood? Can the women in Victor's life bring him back under control? Come here for all things YandR. Check back often for the young and the restless news, spoilers, and updates. The Abbott mansion was unusually quiet, the kind of silence that only followed disaster. Jack Abbott stood near the fireplace, his jaw clenched, eyes dark with disappointment as the weight of recent events pressed down on him. Jabot was bleeding, trust within the family was fractured, and Jack had reached his breaking point. Someone had crossed a line, and Jack was determined to assign blame. This time, he wasn't protecting anyone. Jack turned slowly as Billy entered the room, hands shoved into his pockets, his signature smirk noticeably absent. The brothers locked eyes, decades of rivalry and resentment simmering just beneath the surface. "This ends now," Jack said coldly. "I want the truth, Billy. No jokes. No excuses." Billy scoffed lightly, but there was tension in his voice. "You're acting like I sabotaged Jabot on purpose." Jack slammed his glass down on the table. "Your recklessness created the opening. That's all Victor needed." The mention of Victor Newman hung in the air like poison. Billy stiffened. He had danced with the devil more times than he cared to admit, and Jack knew it. This time, though, the consequences were devastating. A confidential strategy leak, a sudden market move, and Jabot's newest division was left exposed, right as Newman Enterprises swooped in. "You trusted the wrong people," Jack continued. "And whether you meant to or not, you handed Victor leverage." Billy's eyes flashed with anger. "So what? You want me to take the fall while Kyle walks around like he's innocent?" Jack hesitated. That hesitation said everything. Kyle Abbott was the unspoken name in the room, the one Jack didn't want to examine too closely. His son had been acting strangely for weeks. Late nights, vague explanations, and now a message. Unbeknownst to both brothers, Kyle stood outside the study doors, his phone clenched tightly in his hand. The message stared back at him, haunting and unavoidable. "If Jack finds out what you did, everything collapses. Decide now whose side you're on." Kyle swallowed hard. Earlier that day, Billy had made a move of his own, one far more dangerous than Jack realized. Desperate to regain control and prove his worth, Billy had quietly met with an unlikely ally, Adam Newman. The meeting took place in a shadowy corner of the Grand Phoenix bar, where deals were made and souls were traded. Adam's smile was sharp, calculated. "You want Victor out of your life?" Adam asked. "Then you need leverage." Billy leaned forward. "I've got information, not just about Jabot, but about Kyle." That got Adam's attention. Billy's deal was simple and devastating. He would feed Adam just enough intel to destabilize Victor's latest power grab, in exchange for protection and a promise. Adam would make sure Billy came out on top when the dust settled. But deals with Newmans always came at a cost. Back at the Abbott mansion, Jack finally spoke the words Billy dreaded. "Until I know exactly how this happened, you're stepping away from any decision-making role at Jabot." Billy laughed bitterly. "So that's it? You're choosing him? Again?" Jack's voice cracked. "I'm choosing the company. I'm choosing the legacy our father built." Billy shook his head and walked out, fury burning behind his eyes. He had just been pushed into a corner, and Billy Abbott never stayed trapped for long. Meanwhile, Kyle could no longer stay silent. That evening, he found Jack alone in the living room, staring at old family photos. Kyle hesitated, then stepped forward. "Dad, there's something you need to know." Jack looked up, concern instantly replacing his anger. "What is it?" Kyle handed him the phone. The message was worse than Jack expected. It wasn't just blackmail, it was proof of Kyle's involvement in a confidential exchange weeks ago, one that indirectly tipped off Newman Enterprises. Kyle hadn't meant for it to go that far. He had been manipulated, pressured, and promised protection. But intentions didn't erase consequences. Jack closed his eyes, pain etched into every line of his face. "Tell me you didn't betray this family." Kyle's voice broke. "I never meant to. I was trying to protect us, and myself." Jack stepped back, devastated. In that moment, the truth became clear. Billy's recklessness had opened the door, but Kyle had unknowingly let the enemy inside. As the Abbotts fractured from within, Victor Newman watched from afar, a slow smile spreading across his face. Chaos was unfolding exactly as he predicted. Billy was spiraling. Jack was conflicted. Kyle was vulnerable. And Adam? Adam was holding Billy's deal in his pocket, waiting for the
Genoa
perfect
City
moment
had
to
a way
strike.
of holding its breath right before everything exploded, and Billy Abbott could feel it in his bones. He stood alone in the dim glow of the Chancellor Winter's boardroom long after everyone else had gone home. The city lights shimmered through the glass walls like 1,000 unspoken secrets. Billy loosened his tie, ran a hand through his hair, and stared at the reflection looking back at him. It wasn't the face of a reckless playboy anymore. This was a man cornered by consequences, ambition, and a burning need to win. Because Lily Winters was tightening her grip, Victor Newman was circling. And Jack was losing patience. Billy exhaled sharply. He didn't need another lecture. He needed an ally who wasn't afraid to get their hands dirty. That's when his phone buzzed. Phyllis Summers. Billy smirked. Of course it was. Minutes later, the elevator doors slid open and Phyllis stepped out, heels clicking with purpose, eyes already scanning the room like a general surveying a battlefield. She wore confidence like armor, red hair catching the light, a knowing smile tugging at her lips. You sounded desperate, Phyllis said lightly, dropping her purse on the table. I almost didn't come. Billy turned to face her. You came. Phyllis raised a brow. Because when Billy Abbott calls after midnight, something deliciously dangerous is about to happen. Billy chuckled, but there was no humor in his eyes. I need your help. Careful, she said, folding her arms. That sentence usually ends with me cleaning up someone else's mess. This time, Billy replied, stepping closer, we both win. That got her attention. Phyllis tilted her head, studying him. I'm listening. Billy paced slowly, choosing his words. Lily thinks she's got me boxed in. She's freezing me out of decisions, questioning every move I make, and quietly building a case to push me out. And Jack? Phyllis asked. Billy's jaw tightened. Jack wants peace. Stability. He doesn't want another Abbott civil war. Phyllis scoffed. So he's choosing Lily. He's choosing the illusion of control, Billy snapped. And Victor Newman is right there, whispering in Lily's ear, waiting for me to screw up. Phyllis smiled thinly. Victor always underestimates one thing. What's that? People who are angry and smart, she said. Especially when they work together. Billy stopped pacing and met her gaze. I want you to help me take Lily down professionally. Phyllis laughed once, sharp and surprised. Oh, Billy. You don't ask for small favors. You hate being underestimated just as much as I do, Billy continued. You know corporate warfare. You know Victor's playbook. And you have connections I don't. Phyllis tapped a finger against her chin. And what exactly do I get out of this? Billy didn't hesitate. A seat at the table. Real power. Not borrowed influence, actual control. Her eyes gleamed. Chancellor Winters? She asked. Or what comes after? Billy said quietly. Because when this is over, Lily won't be running things anymore. Phyllis took a slow step closer. You're talking about sabotage. I'm talking about exposure, Billy corrected. Lily's made mistakes. Quiet ones. I need help bringing them into the light. Phyllis searched his face, weighing risk against reward. She knew Billy, knew his impulsive streak, his tendency to self-destruct. But she also knew something else. Billy Abbott was done playing defense. I don't work for free, she said. Billy smiled. I didn't think you did. Phyllis leaned in, lowering her voice. If I do this, there's no backing out. No moral panic. No last-minute guilt because Lily looks sad or Jack raises his voice. Billy met her gaze steadily. I'm all in. Phyllis nodded once. Then here's my price. She laid it out calmly, surgically. She wanted access. Files. Board conversations. The freedom to move without Billy second-guessing her methods. And if this plan blew back on either of them? They protected each other. No finger-pointing, she said firmly. We sink or swim together. Billy extended his hand. Deal. Phyllis shook it, but didn't let go right away. There's one more thing, she added, eyes narrowing. Victor Newman cannot see this coming. Billy smirked. That's the best part. Later that night, Phyllis sat in her car outside Society, dialing a number she hadn't planned to call yet. Michael, she said smoothly when he answered. Just checking in. Hypothetically, how dangerous would it be if certain financial irregularities surfaced at Chancellor Winters? A pause. Then Michael's wary voice. What are you up to, Phyllis? She smiled into the darkness. Let's just say Billy Abbott finally decided to stop losing. Across town, Billy stood on the Abbott mansion balcony, staring out into the night. For the first time in weeks, he felt something close to control. But he also knew the truth. A deal with Phyllis Summers was never just a deal. It was a ticking time bomb. And as the snow began to fall over Genoa City, Billy wondered who would be standing when it finally exploded. Because one thing was certain, this partnership was going to change everything.